Okay, the next topic is hormones and their actions. And as you can see down there is, first thing is the hormone chemistry. Basically, what are these hormones made of? Most of the hormones are going to be part of groups. One of them are going to be steroids. They're going to come from cholesterol. And the other ones are going to be peptides, basically amino acids, and also the monoamines. So we scroll down. We're going to see the three main groups again. Again, we said the steroid hormones. They come from cholesterol, and such as estrogen. Peptide hormones, such as insulin. And monoamines are going to be epinephrine and norepinephrine. Hormone synthesis, we already said that steroids that are going to start from cholesterol. As you can see here, this is the chemical composition of cholesterol. As you can see, they have rings. Peptides, it's just amino acid. If you don't have thousands of amino acids, you just have a few, then obviously that's going to be a peptide. Monoamines, they also derive from amino acids. Amino acids that are going to be used in order to create monoamines, as you can see here, it's going to be tyrosine. Tyrosine is a very important amino acid in the creation of thyroid hormones. Another one is tryptophan, as you can see here. Okay, so let's scroll down and let's see what else we have. In here you have how the hormones are being created. In the case of the thyroid hormone, it also needs iodine. The chemical reactions, you don't need to know any of that. Hormone transport. To generalize, we have two main groups. The ones that are going to be amino acids one way or another, and the other ones that are going to be cholesterol. Hormones that are going to be derived from cholesterol, they need to be attached to a transporter, and these are going to be called transport proteins. One of the most important ones is going to be albumin. In the case of amino acids, epinephrine, for example, they don't need that, right? Because obviously they're going to be proteins. Hormone receptors and the mode of action. So let's take a look at that. We have in here the cell membrane. In this case, those hormones that come from cholesterol, they're just going to cross the membrane and they will go inside your cell. Once they get inside the cell, they're going to reach the nucleus and they work at the level of the DNA. In the case of the hormones that are going to be proteins, they cannot cross the cell membrane because most of it is fat. So what they're going to do is they're going to work at the level of a receptor that they're going to have in the cell membrane. And after that, they're going to trigger, as you can see here, a serial of reactions that eventually is going to end with the production of enzymes or any other metabolic type of reactions necessary for the cell. Most of the time, what hormones are going to do is just you're going to get a few hormones and they activate all the processes inside. And as a result, there's going to be thousands of other chemical reactions and enzymes created. So the activation of the enzyme produces a magnified result at the level of the cell. And that magnified result is what is called right here signal amplification. So then that's why you can see here there's a small stimulus for the hormone. And then look, it gets a great effect. That's what signal amplification is. So if we keep scrolling down, modulation, that means that when you have just a few hormones, the receptors are going to increase. That's upregulation. Downregulation, when there is a whole bunch of hormones, then the number of receptors are going to decrease. So if we scroll down, next thing we have is hormone interaction. Okay, because hormones don't work alone, right? They work together. You have synergistic effects. That means that both hormones are going to work together in order to get an effect. For example, FSH and testosterone, they work together in order to produce spermatozoids. Permissive effect. One works first and then the other one, such as, for example, in the case of estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen works in the first 15 days of the menstrual period, and then after that, progesterone takes over and works on the last 15 days of the menstrual period. Antagonistic effects, for example, insulin and glucagon. Insulin decreases the levels of glucose in blood, and glucagon increases the glucose levels in blood. So insulin decreases, glucagon increases. Hormone clearance is the ability that the body has in order to remove these hormones, and that's it. The next topic is stress and adaptation. I'm not sure why this is in here, since this is not normal anatomy and physiology, but just a few words. So the first part of that is the alarm reaction. That's basically the fight or flight type of reaction, right? At first, you need to do some physical activity, for example, and then the first thing that is going to happen is that you are going to release adrenaline and noradrenaline, or epinephrine and norepinephrine, in order to get the amount of glucose that you need. But what happens if that takes longer, right? Hours, if not days? Then you're going to run out of glucose. So in that case, your body is not going to die. Your body needs to use other sources to create glucose. And in that case, that's going to be, for example, proteins as well as fat. But in that case, how you're going to be able to use this protein and fat is because cortisol is going to be released, and cortisol will allow you to do that. Eventually, you will run out proteins and fats. Therefore, you don't have anything else, and that's going to be the stage of exhaustion. For example, those people who go into hunger strikes, right? They go into that, and then eventually, if they run out of all these sources of energy, they may even die, as you can see here, death. The next topic is eicosanoids and paracrine signaling. Glands release the hormones, and the hormones go through the blood in order to produce an effect. In this case, paracrine signaling means that this type of cells are going to release substances, but they will not go directly into the blood, but rather just to the tissues around these cells in order to perform a function. The most important paracrine type of signaling that we're going to get are going to be called eicosanoids, the ones that you have in here. The most important ones are going to be prostacyclin, prostaglandin, and thromboxane. All these eicosanoids, they are going to come from arachidonic acid located in the cell membrane. So then, which ones we said are going to be the eicosanoids? Prostacyclin. So when the blood vessels are normal, you don't need to blood clot. So prostacyclin will make sure that that doesn't happen. Thromboxanes, if the blood vessel is damaged, thromboxanes will allow us to aggregate platelets in order to continue with blood coagulation. The next one is prostaglandins. Prostaglandins have way too many functions because there are different types of prostaglandins, and not only that, prostaglandins have multiple different types of receptors. But for example, you can see here, they stimulate contraction of the smooth muscle in the blood vessel, so they produce vasoconstriction. So if we keep scrolling down, anti-inflammatory drugs, we don't need to know that, and that's about it. Okay, the next topic is endocrine disorders. We are not going to talk much about it, but I want to mention something that is very important, which is an endocrine disorder, which is diabetes. What happens in diabetes is the levels of insulin are low, at least in one type of diabetes. More details about it, obviously, is not the topic of this class. So that's about it.